quo of the WWE these days. If you're not being used, you can decide I want to do something more. The rush of the fans, whether it's 50 people or 50,000, no longer makes a difference because superstars just want to be recognized because they feel now that maybe I don't need the machine to be what I consider successful.
Yep. That's true. You look at a guy like Cody Rhodes, right? Homegrown. Let's not forget. Homegrown in the WWE. What'd you say? Born with a silver spoon in his mouth?
Absolutely.
Say when it comes to the business?
Of course.
And he left because he wasn't like the way he was being used. I mean,
Houston, we have a problem.
What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Oh yeah.
Ooh! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. It's lit tonight. I got the real Dwayne Allen right by my side, and I got my other brother, the one, the only, has the third brother Hugh in the building for the second week in a row. Gentlemen, I rolled the clip to start the show, and when I rolled the clip, I said, ride with me here. Because I had this idea and I had to execute it. Cody Rhodes, that show that we did, the real Dwayne Allen and I, not even 3 years old. And Cody's coming home? What y'all think? Is Cody coming home? Because I think he's coming home. Dwayne, do you think he's coming home?
There's a turd in the punch bowl, brother.
I don't know what's going on, quite honestly. I'm confused. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about the situation makes absolutely any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of stunned, but it goes back to what like I said, you know my favorite podcast to reference every week to do this is Matt Cardona. Him and Brian Mars always say, "Look, man, it's the wrestling business, not the wrestling friendship."
Talk about it. Oh man. We sat there and it was Tuesday and I was getting my day started and then boom, the phones blew up. Cody and Brandy Rhodes leaving AEW, and there was so much going on, and that Dwayne, you and I talked later, and you had unpacked everything, like as far as what all the press releases said. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's of course when I first heard the news, the first thing I saw was Tony Khan's AEW statement.
Mm-hmm. Tony Khan's AEW statement. Yeah, so the first thing, he saw was Tony Khan's AEW statement.
Okay, yeah, I'm back. There we go. Sorry. So so I saw the AEW statement. It was put in one of the group texts, and I was like, no way. So then I looked at it, and then I realized that was kind of a response to a statement made by Cody Rhodes, as well as Brandy Rhodes, their own individual statements in regards to them leaving the company.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I was like, no way. Like, how is that even possible that one of the founding fathers of this entire brand all of a sudden is leaving the company altogether? Now, what we previously talked about before is that you have to almost go back and relook at certain things that were said with a different eye, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't really pay Cody Rhodes any mind in regards to any of his promos or the certain things that might have been seen as red flags or any of the rumors and innuendo that we've seen or heard in dirt sheets, because AEW is not above trying to do something to pop a rating, trying to come off different and surprising in some way, shape, or form. And people still think this could possibly be some sort of work. So,
Yeah, a lot of people definitely think it's a work, and the thing is, as wrestling fans, we've been so accustomed to things being a work, so it makes us question even some news like this.
Right. Sorry. So I didn't initially think that like no, I didn't pay any mind until I realized that wait a minute, these statements are actually real. And I was like, okay, now I literally went back and started to think about all the things, the little small comments that he made. A lot of comments made towards Cody. You know what I mean? During times we have been hearing dissension amongst the ranks when it comes to that executive group in regards to what happens backstage. Now, I'm a fan. I don't have any recollection of anything that goes on behind closed doors. I take everything as tongue in cheek or with a grain of salt at the end of the day because I'm not associated with anybody that's actually back there. So people can say what they want, but it doesn't make it any more true or any less true.
Facts.
So to sit there and to finally it come to light, I'm like, well, maybe there's no definitive statement about why he's leaving, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't say I'm retiring. It doesn't say I need a break. It doesn't say it's time for me to move on to different areas. He just cut a promo the other day, like he was just, quote unquote, all in, and then all of a sudden now he's all out. So there's plenty to unpack here. I don't want to drag along with it, but it was just
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. For me as a wrestler fan, it's got me excited. I'm really excited about the possibility.
I mean, this
You
is
know.
this is the guy. This is the guy that was on the front line. Like
Mhm.
we you just showed the clip from that previous show. We showed that image of Cody Rhodes destroying Triple H's throne because that was one of the most defining.
Yeah, one of the most defining moments and defying the system. You know, and so that moment right there was like, yo, he
It
came and
was
made a statement.
they mean business. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
was bold. It was in your face. And, all you hear is Brandy screaming, trying to catch her voice amongst his fans, talking about break it down. I was like, oh wow. All of a sudden, fast forward to today, you talking about, oh yeah, you hearing rumors about Curtis Cage reaching out to WWE. That's the part that's got me flabbergasted. I'm using flabbergasted for a reason because it doesn't say he's doing anything else. Sometimes when people leave, right,
Yeah.
they claim they want to go do something else as a reason to get out of their contract to go elsewhere. You know, let's look at Kevin Nash. When Kevin Nash wasn't working at WCW, he decided, this isn't for me. My wife's about to leave me. He told them whatever he needs to do to get his release. But he all this time he had already spoken to WWE people with Shawn Michaels to, be Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, gets out his release, goes to WWF. Big deal, right? You have a
Uh-huh.
situation right now with this, you're immediately hearing rumors about him reaching out to WWE officials. Why? Something's not right. We've always suspected there was trouble in paradise for a lot of different reasons because we unpacked them in two completely different shows. We said, okay, this is the honeymoon phase is going to end. It's
Mhm.
all fun and games until something changes. Because at the end of the day, wrestling business or not, there's only so much revolutionary stuff you can do that hasn't already been done before. Especially when you're in a state of professional wrestling where it's pretty much owned by television.
Yeah.
Television has always been the driving force, but when you have situations where TNT tells you, yeah, no more surprises because we want to advertise that. Hey, if they almost own 70% of the liquidity in your company, you gonna argue with them?
No. No. Not at all. You argue with them, you're gonna be like WCW, without a network. And that's the thing, and what do you do in that situation?
What was that thing you said?
No, I was just following up what you said. Like, you ain't gonna argue with them.
No, I mean, but that's the thing though. So it's like it has been less than a day, and there's already rumors.
Oh yeah, the rumors have started almost immediately. Um, yeah, almost immediately. It was one thing. Cody's, didn't resign. I mean, he was leaving, and then next thing you know, oh, WWE is interested.
I
And
mean,
let's not forget what
go ahead.
season it is. I
I
was just saying,
mean,
let's not forget what season it is.
but why though? Help me understand why.
Why
Let's
Russ?
let's speculate.
Mhm.
Why would this happen at a time like this?
I mean, it's one word, Texas Stadium. Well, two words, Texas Stadium or AT&T Stadium, whatever you want to call it. You got to sell out a 2-night WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
You want to sell 200,000 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to hit with your heaviest punch. And Cody Rhodes, like I said, born with a silver spoon in his mouth, which you agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got that from you, to be honest. I think you remember that long conversation before we did the show.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Coming back home, but he left. He was a mid-carder.
Mm-hmm.
He was Stardust, and it just wasn't working. He's gone out, proved what he could do, proved his worth to the wrestling fans, but he's also entertained. He's also crossed over into some reality television, and then his own show. First Brandy was on like the Wives show, like Wives of Atlanta or something like. I think it was called what? I don't know, women. Wives and Girlfriends. Then
Mm-hmm.
she was they was on the Rhodes family show. So he's proved, and then he's on the Go Big show or whatever. So he's proved that he has that crossover appeal. Why not Vince McMahon and company? Why wouldn't they want a guy like that, a star that, like I said, WWE is home. So bring him back.
But
Hmm.
why though? Why did he leave?
Why?
Help me understand this.
Okay, why did he leave?
Why did he
why did
leave in the first place? There's a turd in the punch bowl. There's
Is
got to
there-
be.
what-
There's a
now
turd in
with
the. Do you hear me?
what, AEW?
Of course.
Yeah. So the thing is, according to reports, that he was really, he really appreciated the booking duties, and he was relieved of them. And having that booking power no longer, it rubbed him the wrong way. Now, if we just say, let's
So
take
you walk
off,
away from your own creation.
Mm-hmm. But remember, is it yours? Like Impact Wrestling, TNA, well, I should say TNA was Jeff Jarrett's, right? Like they used their money, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Where it
Mm-hmm.
no, go ahead.
Now go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
I was gonna say TNA, I've always associated that as okay, the Jarretts funded it themselves. AEW, yeah, this was their idea. It was their brainchild. But at the end of the day, I could see, this is just me speculating. Feel like, they could be like, yo, real talk, this our stuff. Yeah, you might be the powers that be, but at the end of the day, I'm the one writing the paychecks. This is my ish. So no, you're not doing it. And I think that might have rubbed them the wrong way.
I think we knew it was bound to happen at some point, because the nature of the wrestling business and the personalities that kind of come with it. What you have to do to be successful. If you're not a ruthless, name one. If you weren't, there's not one company out there that survived without a ruthless leader at some point. I'm talking about someone that was willing to do business at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince McMahon is loved and hated for those same reasons, because he's going to be praised for what he's done for the professional wrestling, but at the same time, though, he has liberties, and he's made a lot of, he has a lot of hits and a lot of misses as well.
Yeah.
Right. And most often we talk about the misses rather than the hits, because of his age, for a lot of different reasons, his unwillingness to change, whatever the case may be. We knew that was going to happen with AEW at some point, because there was too many heads in the table. Right. You have Tony Khan that's kind of footing the bill. He's running the show. And then you have your experienced guys that are kind of leading the charge. You have the Young Bucks, you have Kenny, you have Cody. They put on their own. Chris Jericho as well. We'll throw Chris Jericho's name in there, because Tony Khan said it was because of what the success of Cody, of Chris Jericho and Okada. They realized, we can actually we can do this. We have enough star power to kind of make this a thing. How bad does it have to be that you create something of your own, right? And you get somebody else to finance the project, your baby, and then all of a sudden the person who foots the bill decides that's like us. We start we start the wrestling realm, right? Say you come from what was your original show called? Was it Wrestle Talk?
Wrestle Talk, yeah, Wrestle Talk with Beep and B-Dub. I tell you, the connection on this thing tonight.
It's killing me, bro. Like it's
The devil
ridiculous.
is a lie.
So
But yeah,
like,
Russell talk with MB Dub.
so you got? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, loud and clear. Oh, and then no more. Yeah, so I think the idea of where you was going. You have the show, and we you got. Oh, you there, Dwayne?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So
They went out again. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? All right, there you go.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So let's try this again for the fifth time. So you got Russell talk with Bear and B-Dub, right?
Mm-hmm.
You leave to start, you have creative differences, with your partner who started this. That was your home, though. That's where you got your start. I'm talking about a show where you had 4,000 and 5,000 views per show. We talking the like lucrative days of YouTube. It was just starting to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
So you decide, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go start something else. But say we start the wrestling realm, but we get somebody else to finance. So we get the corporate fat cat. He finances the project, right?
Yep.
He finances the project. Now we do all the work, we do all the branding, we make it successful. But now all of a sudden he wants to have more of a say so on everything because he's footing the bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's all team wrestling realm until all of a sudden he makes it about him because now all of a sudden when wrestling realm expectations don't meet his return on investment, right? All of a sudden now he wants to intervene. Hey, well, fellas, we're not making much. I'm not making my money back from what I put into this. Let me jump in here. I think it's I should start carrying the reins a little bit more. I am footing the bill, so it starts and ends with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you decide that you just can't take it anymore. You say I'm leaving this and I'm going back to Wrestle Talk with Bear and B Dub. Right?
Yeah.
That's essentially the situation that we're looking at if we want to relate to it, right?
Right.
How bad does it have to be for someone to leave something that they personally created, that they had their hands on, right? And then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, because the financer was kind of, I said one or two things were going to happen. I said either the boys are working him or he's working the boys, because it
Ooh.
happened in TNA, right?
Yeah.
Dixie Carter, she brought in everybody. She brought in McFoley and those guys. She made those guys feel like they were going to be valued, and they had all these creative ideas that WWE wouldn't allow them to do because everybody thinks that they're good at it, right? And and that was the lure. Listen, they didn't listen to you, but we value as a legend and as this and the third. So we want your input and we want you to have a say so. And that makes these wrestlers feel like they're important. You know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. You respect the fact that I'm more than just a wrestler. You respect that I bring something to the table. And then they bring their idea to the table and it doesn't turn a profit.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden now you say, okay, I appreciate what you brought to the table for that moment, but now the moment is over. And now, it's time for you to kind of fade. Now all of a sudden they don't like the way they're being treated now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mick Foley was one of them. All of a sudden it's like, oh, this company's not going direct to supposed to. Yeah, because they stopped listening to you. Right? A lot of times these wrestlers come in and they have this idea, oh, they're gonna they respect my ideas, they like me, they're gonna let me do what I want, they're gonna let me add this, and then when it doesn't work, they gotta say, all right, listen, we appreciate you, we love you as a legend, but we gotta start. I'm gonna start making better decisions around here. I'm gonna take this upon myself to figure it out because naturally you need one head at the table. As much as these companies say that, only to find out almost 10, 15 years later, Dixie Carter wanted to be the female Vince McMahon. So she began to get more and more and more involved, right, with the
Yeah.
product, and she began to show her face more, and she became an attraction herself. But guess what? That attraction wasn't enough to put butts in the seats. So now you make it about you once again because you're at the head of the table. You're financing the company, and now what you're bringing to the table is not enough, right? It happened to Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett sold his own. He left his own company.
Mm-hmm.
He created TNA, right? He couldn't afford to finance it from scratch. Him and his father, Jeff and Jerry Jarrett, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yep.
Once again, paying the energy. Once again, it happens all the time. It happens in corporate America. It happens in business a lot of times. I know a lot of streetwear brands. that start off, but then they make so much money and then they got to sell it. So then like you lose your own creation. It's one of the things I'm like, man, I hope that never happens with me and TRDA to the point you get so big that you can't really finance it and you want to break from the hustle and tussle of it. So you sell your company, but then the ones who's financing the product starts to have the final say on everything that you do. Then your company loses its heart and soul, right? You say, okay, this isn't what it used to be. What it started out as, I'm leaving. I walk away from it. You can have it. And then you create something else, or you go back to what you were before you created your own being. That's what naturally happens in business. I get that. It happened in TNA. AEW's been around just for a few years already.
That's
once
the
again,
thing right there.
It goes back to the question that I proposed to you. How bad had it to be this way? Like how bad was it that this is what came from it this early? Like you mean to tell me like how long has AEW been in existence? They celebrate what 3-4
Remember
years
they
now?
made the date, 2019. It was when the initial announcement.
We're talking 3 years, right?
That show that I played, we shot that. I want to say April 2019.
And that was late. Remember, we thought we were late to the party with that show.
Well, yeah, because remember that day we found out like it was some issue that Pac didn't, they couldn't do the match. Remember the match was originally
I remember that
Pac and Hangman.
And Hangman, yep. And I think it was visa issues. And then all
we ain't
of a
know
sudden,
it at the time. We thought it was a creative difference.
Right, because Pac was talking like I'll never show up in AEW ever again, and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, maybe he just doesn't like the way he was treated the first go round or whatever. Maybe something fell through the cracks. We talking about 3 years, and all of a sudden, Cody's like, I'm gone. He makes a complete statement. His wife makes a complete statement. You're seeing subtle jabs. You're seeing certain things, and I'm like, man, something's not right with this situation. And you're saying to yourself, how bad, once again, has it been that this is the end result? That someone, a founding father of an entire promotion, is willing to leave their own creation. And to be honest with you, it doesn't look like he's really being missed. You can tell the ones who he worked with because they're the ones who put like John Huber's
statement.
Yeah. When they talk about relinquishing community outreach to Brody Lee's wife, she left a heartfelt statement. You know what I mean? A lot of people that Cody Rhodes shouted out were all AEW nobodies and originals. And I mean nobodies. I don't mean any disrespect by that. I'm talking about just unknown superstars that Cody was trying to give a chance and trying to build around their talent. People that were.
What you're saying is we're not hearing from the Omegas and the Bucks.
No, because now the rumors make sense, right? The Bucks are known for sneak dissing, and there's been some things that people are like, I don't know. What are they talking about? And then you have Dustin Rhodes saying like, "Oh, I'm not leaving. I like it in AEW." Like, why do you feel the need to say that? Like, even if I'm sure people say, "Well, shoot, Dustin, if your brother's leaving, are you saying?" And he's like, "Oh no, I like it in AEW." What are you saying? Are you saying that Cody didn't like it in AEW? Are you insinuating that there's a problem that you don't have that same problem? Like, there's a certain way you respond to things when somebody leaves, and I'm like, man, there's an issue here somewhere, and it's kind of obvious.
Well, one of the things that stood out to me, right?
It has to be a problem, bro.
Yeah,
I mean, don't you think so? Like, it's like this when somebody leaves like who? For instance, when Daniel Bryan left WWE, right?
Yep.
He made his intentions very clear. Look, I love Vince. I love the WWE. They give me everything I have. They're family. But he's like a father to me, and he is overprotective. I want to push my limits, and there's things that I want to do. He's just not going to allow me to do. Right? There was no slick comments. There was no backbiting. There was no unnecessary well wishes. We're going to make a formal statement to announce that Daniel Bryan has officially left the company. Like, there's none of that going on. It was just he left. He was a free agent. His contract ran out. He showed up in AEW, and then when they asked him, hey, what's going on? He made it very clear, hey, look, I want to push my limits. This is the style of professional wrestling that I want to do before I settle down. That's why I'm here. It was very clear, concise. And he said he talked to Vince. Vince gave him his blessing. No disrespect, all business. Here we go, right? This situation doesn't seem that way. Go ahead, Brian. That you were saying something?
No, I mean, just think about the original friendships right there, right? When you think about, like, you know how, like, there's always cliques, right? So, it's the three of us, right? The brother. And then, you got different sets of people we know, but, like, with a cord.
Right.
When
the
you
Wolfpack
think
inside
about
the NWO.
bingo, I always think of, I never put Cody with the Omegas and the Bucks. You know what I mean? They got their guy. They got Adam Cole over there now. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, you know, it's like, look, man, you know, I think like they might be happy where they at, but it's like, are you doing too much, bro? I
Well,
don't
let's
know.
take it.
Just as my
Well,
thoughts, obviously. You know, I'm not coming on here and say, oh, I know, and I got somebody in the inside telling me this.
no,
You
that's
know,
just
but
stupid.
which
People really have shows saying stuff like that. I mean, more power to you. Make your money.
mm-hmm.
Think about it though. Let's take it further back. We talked about this before when Cody first hit the independent scene and he was part of the Bullet Club. And remember, I kept saying, yo, I like Cody though, but he just doesn't fit. Like he's the only one in the Bullet Club wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like we watched. Remember, we when we did our original NWO promo in 2017, and then I think theirs came out first.
It came out first.
We were contemplating it and trying to figure it out, and then they did their version of it, and we were like, "Oh, that joint is weak, bro!" Like they didn't even put any effort. They literally just set up a backdrop in a hotel, and a couple of camera angles and a couple of little distorted grain film effects, and that was it. And I remember in that moment, I said, and I was Bullet Club was hot, like they were at the sort of the middle swing, like it was starting to become oversaturated a little bit, but it was still what it was. And I remember saying, I mean, I believe Adam Cole was part of the group at this time. I kept saying, Cody just doesn't fit with the Bullet Club. Like he's in a suit. Like the Bullet Club is kind of renegades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They kind of do and say it. And, Cody's kind of this formal, wrestling guy because he comes from a prestigious wrestling family, which is also understood. And then you look at the contrast and the issues that AEW has when it comes to who feels what their product should be, right? On Cody, and this is once again, now the rumors, you begin to look at it with a different eye because somebody was speculating and saying, well, what were you expecting to happen? Because Cody comes from a WWE background. He was born and bred, right? WWE you can always tell somebody that's from WWE because the first thing they'll tell you is it's all about the storytelling.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Brock Lesnar just said on Pat McAfee's show. He said, look, like these guys got to figure out how to put butts in the seats, like how to entertain. Like that's what it's about, not about your next high spot. Right. But the independent wrestling is built on that. Right. And guys like the Bucks, guys like Kenny, and even New Japan, like those are a lot of those spots is what makes those promotions what they are, because it's short-term gratification, because the independent scene and even New Japan is not meant to drag on in-depth storylines, because that's not what it's there for. It's there for the immediate gratification, right? So now you're taking one style of professional wrestling, which is immediate gratification, and putting it in front of 8,000, 5,000, 4,000 people weekly, which has never been done before. It's coming, it's been done before on a higher level, but that's when WCW was ruling the world. Like I said, they qualified a different conversation because at one point they were the number one wrestling company in the world.
Easily.
AEW still an upstart. They're still in the category of the TNAs and the Impacts. People that are climbing, but you can't be in that conversation unless you were the number one company at some point. Reebok, Adidas can always compete with Nike because at one point in time, Reebok and Adidas were both the number one shoe company in the world. It didn't matter when; it just at some point they were there. So they qualify for that conversation.
Just learned something.
that was the time. There was a time Nike was number 3. So now when you've been number one, you're officially competing for the number one spot, right? You're competition. Everybody can compete, but it doesn't make you competition, right?
Yep.
You got to you got to get into an upper echelon. AEW looked like they had all the parts to do that, but the product was never really defined because on one hand you had a lot of upstarts, you had a lot of superstars and a lot of talent coming from independent promotions, and they were bringing that same style of wrestling to a bigger audience. And then you got a lot of old school guys like Jim Ross and even Chris Jericho. They're like, dude, like y'all out here doing all this crazy stuff. That's not what's going to last. I know it's hard to not do those things because you can't help yourself, but it's not about that. It was even issues with FTR before with the tag ropes. Just the tradition of what the tag rope was there for a reason. You're supposed to grab the tag rope traditionally, and you can't make your tab unless you connect to that. But it's just the small things like there's these pieces of psychology that's going to make sure that your product lasts longer because the presentation is meant to leave a lasting impact based off what you do in the ring, not the spot. But I'm talking about, you know, Hogan was the king of it. You know what I mean? Hogan would do a Warrior, another guy, the king of it. Guys that knew how to do very little in the ring because they didn't have to, because they knew I can do these other things, these mannerisms, these movements, these struts, these shakes, because that's what people begin to pay to see. And guess what? Now your job is that much easier because you don't got to beat your body to death to entertain the fans. We talk about Kurt Angle, right?
Yep.
And Kurt Angle came back and he wanted to be booked like kind of like Goldberg. He wanted to be in that spot where he's an old timer. You know what I mean? He's an intense guy, and when he comes back, he's a main event dude. And Vince McMahon didn't trust to put that type of pressure on Kurt Angle with his past and said, Kurt, we're not here to do all that. I want you to enjoy this last run. It's about you. Let's have some fun. Enjoy your time being back home. Because Vince went through a really tough battle with Kurt Angle and his drug addiction, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that Kurt will do anything to entertain the fans. And it's like, as a father figure, Vince sometimes comes off like, I got to do his best for these guys that I'm responsible for, that I treat as if they were my sons. I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on you here, right? Not to mention, Kurt Angle wrestled a very Greco-Roman intense style, right? At his age, he's not going to be able to pull it off against you. Goldberg did the same 5 things, and that's what made him money. That's why Hogan's career lasted for so long. He's going to pose. He's going to rip a shirt. He's going to shake his head in his fist. He's going to give you a boot to the face, leg drop, and now he's made a ton of money. And that's all he needed to do. You can do that till you're 65 years old. You know what I mean? Kurt Angle wrestled a crazy style. And Kurt Angle probably wasn't going to be able to deliver because people are going to watch him in the ring and say, he's not the same Kurt Angle. And don't get me wrong, that match was at WrestleMania. He had with Ronda Rousey, Stephanie McMahon, and Triple H. He did an excellent job at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people are going to want to see him do the crazy stuff that he had no business doing before. Still doing moonsaults off the cage and missing. He did it twice in TNA. You know what I mean? After Vince told him, don't do that ever again. You know, he's willing to do that because that's the type of pressure he's willing to pull himself to perform, to be the man that he is. So you can't trust somebody to be booked that way, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, when you look at AEW and WWE in a situation, you know, and you have to say to yourself, okay, well, what are we supposed to do long term? Because we can't focus on the short term gratification because that's not what's going to last the longest in fans. Like, you look at all the moments in AEW, they've had so many great moments that have gone unremembered because they were all about the spots. So when you watch a spot, you're programmed to see another spot, and you think now an important moment comes from certain spots, but it's like, man, there should be other moments that, like, for instance, Jeff Hardy. I will always remember Jeff Hardy's ear being twisted with a screwdriver by Randy Orton, right?
Yeah,
because Randy Orton maniacally took his time and he looked at the crowd. He made a face, and as Jeff Hardy is cringing, he stuck that. And like, that's a moment. That's psychology, right? That's something that stuck with my brain. That's just my natural reaction to seeing something like that. You know what I mean? Not Jeff Hardy did a swanton off top of the cage onto a table. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen thousands of those things. And Jim Ross spoke on the same thing. He was like, look, man, these young guys don't listen. He came out and just said, they don't listen. There's no point in trying to help them out because they were trying to give them what professional wrestling was built off. And there's still a psychology to it. But there's two contrasting styles. There's a style that is proven, but is now mainly known as in WWE style because WCW no longer exists, where it's more about the psychology. And WCW pioneered that style more than anybody.
Yeah.
Think about it. They really created what WWE does today. They forced WWE to change what they were doing. Like that, like Scott Hall. You ever watch a Scott Hall match and watch him sell? You ever watch Kurt Hennig sell? They did so much it was like, wow. And it didn't look cheesy. It looked over the top, but it just made sense because that's what they understood is what the business was built on. But you had this young audience. You have a young owner. You have young talent that come from something completely different. And now they got you in front of 10,000 people instead of 500 people, instead of 200 people. No, I'm going to get my spot off because that's going to make me last forever. And it's like, well, does it? Where does that go long term? Like, did Sammy G's spot he did with Cody Rhodes take him to the next level, or was it just an isolated situation?
Ooh. That was a pipe bomb right there.
And I say all that to say this, I know we got to move forward. I say all that to say as I wrap this up. To me, it's not surprising that there were two contrasting styles in regards to the executive vice presidents and where they come from. You have WWE, Cody Rhodes, like, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. I grew up with my father, Dusty Rhodes. This is how he taught me. Because it's considered an old school approach, but the WWE has absorbed the NWA. The WWE has absorbed WCW. That's all one style. But of course, WWE gets their flack about it because they're the mainstay when it comes to professional wrestling, right? But then you have the Young Bucks that made their names by themselves off independence. So those same spots that you telling me don't make sense, they've made me millions of dollars. So now you're conflicting, and then you have a Kenny Omega that's somewhere in the middle, where he comes from a wrestling company that is a mainstay, the second biggest promotion in the world. I don't know so much anymore, but at the time it was, you know what I mean? But at the same time, no, they also have a very, spot fest style when appropriate. They New Japan cards have something for everybody. Your opening match might be a 6-man tornado tag. No tags, just everybody goes out there and gets their spots in. The Young Bucks killed it at that. Roppongi Vice killed it at that. Who reunited on AEW and just recently had a match with the Young Bucks. You know what I mean? So you have one half of the group saying, speculating that one half group is saying, no, that we're okay doing it this way because it's proven to make us money. And then you have another part of the group, it's probably agreeing with them. And then you have a Cody that's like, man, that's not going to last forever. And they're like, well, how do you know if you don't give it a shot? And Cody's like, I had so much experience. I've seen so much. They're like, no, that's your way. This is our way. And Tony comes right there with the paycheck saying, no, we're going to do it my way. I want to see all my favorites in AEW. So now he's booting out all original guys. And Cody's like, well, we originally built this on unknowns and we made them into household names to all of a sudden being unknowns again on our show. So once again, like I said this on the phone, but it goes back to the Animal Farm reference. The pigs the animals were so against the humans because of how the humans were. But then when the pigs got rid of the humans, the pigs became what they hated the most. I'm just saying, like, maybe, I don't know. Something had to have happened that somebody would leave their own I'm gonna keep saying it the whole show. Leave their own creation and go back to the WWE. I mean, they're in AEW's eyes, the WWE is the big bad wolf. AEW is supposed to be anti WWE. They're supposed to represent everything that WWE doesn't.
Yep.
And then one of your founding fathers says, "Now check this out. Oh, so y'all want to pay me what I'm worth as a performer and as an executive because of what? But you paid all these other guys? Okay." Whew.
That's the crazy part, man. Like I said,
something's up.
I know we're gonna move off Cody Rhodes, but real quick, I'm excited about the possibility of him coming. Like I said, this happens right around WrestleMania time. I mean, if I'm booking a match, I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna ask brother Hugh, but I'm gonna say mine first. If you give me a blank slate, tell me book Cody Rhodes for WrestleMania, I'm putting him in the ring with Seth Rollins. That's the match I would love to see. What about y'all?
I'm thinking Miz.
It's funny because that's exactly who I was gonna say. Like honestly, I mean, the Miz and Mrs. They had the same market. You know what I'm saying? Like both of them had their own shows and whatnot. That'd be a perfect feud for him when he comes back. Like of course later on down the line I would want to see him in the ring with like a Seth Rollins and of course maybe Roman Reigns. But do you really think he's gonna like flourish in the heavyweight division with big boys like Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns? Vince is set on them heavy set boys, the beefy boys.
No, I think Cody's more baby face now than he's been. Like I think like people seeing like this different side of him, and I think Vince could, and the WWE creatives working with Cody's creative, he would go further than what he's ever been.
I think he'll be just fine because he's a people's champion, and and that's kind of what he was in AEW. You know, he was kind of like, look, man, I don't need to be the world champion. I'm the people's champion. He's kind of that. He reminds me of that Diamond Dallas Page character. You know what I mean? Diamond Dallas Page was a huge star in WCW in those days, and of course, now he wasn't. You know, he wouldn't get his main event run until WCW was kind of almost in the toilet. But when WCW was at the height of its, you know, of its WCW ish, Diamond Dallas Page was must see TV.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He wasn't a main event. He wasn't a main event guy, but he was a main. Let's put it this way: he wasn't booked necessarily in main event feuds, but he was a main event player. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, I see Cody in a similar role. Like he has gone out and he has proved himself. You know what I mean? And I think there's so much of this. There's this new space now in WWE for these couples to kind of flourish. You know what I mean? Thanks to Miz and Mrs. You know, and as I call Miz and Maurice, Miz and Mrs. And then you have like Edge and Beth Phoenix. You know what I mean? And then you have Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. Like they're being acknowledged as these wrestling couples. You know, and you have Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. Like they're not shying away from these things. And I'm like, man, Cody Rhodes and Brandy could really shake some things up. You know what I mean? And I see him as a main event player now. You know what I mean? It just baffles me, man. There's a very Luciferian way of thinking when they say it's better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. You know what I mean? And that attitude usually comes from people that say, look, man, I'd rather have a little bit of nothing because it's my nothing. You know what I mean? Rather than share all of something that you have. You know, it may be better than what I have, but I down here I'm the leader. It's like, man, how bad is it that you're willing to walk away from something like I can't fathom why you would go back. To me, it's like, bro, oh yeah, it's about the money, or you trying to stick it to them. Yeah. Because it's like you threw out the first punch. You shot. You were there to shoot the first shot. And all, but you know what though? I'm gonna be honest with you. This would have happened before. We ready to take it a little bit deeper.
Okay.
This would have happened before because Scott Hall and Kevin Nash both wanted out of their contracts when they went to WCW. They've gone on to say that. Like around, they said a year after they were in WCW, they wanted out. Right? And they tried to get out. That's what, and when you look at the invasion, when DX pull up to the Norfolk Scope Arena, I believe it was. Yeah. Right? And they had the PO WCWs, and they was like, let my people go. It's because they knew that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall made it very clear, we're trying to come back. We're trying to get out of here. But they're not letting us come out. And they said, well, why not? Well, first of all, they keep throwing more money at us. It was a bottomless budget. Kevin Nash made it very clear, you stick around for the money. Every time we had an issue, they just kept giving us more money. So this would have happened before. Wow. You know what I mean? Think about it. Yeah. Imagine if Razor and Diesel leaves and maybe a year and a half later they come back. You know what I mean? What about Bret Hart tried to come back?
They did come back, didn't they?
Bret Hart?
No,
Razor and Diesel. They came back.
They
no, he's talking about in '98.
I'm messing with you.
Oh, he's trying to be funny about Razor.
My man Glenn Jacob did.
Freaking and Jim Ross.
But you know, that's the thing. Like Brett talked about it in his book that they was somewhere, and this was post Montreal, and Owen was like, "Come on, man," He said, "All right, I'll talk to Vince or whatever." But like you said, the money.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it's a business. You know what I mean? And if you don't recognize that it's a business, you're in trouble. Because all that family stuff goes out the window when it comes to that bread. I've said that. Like you can pretend to be family all you want, but you better make sure you got money enough to pay me what I'm worth.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And we knew what was going to happen. All these WWE guys coming in, and I've said it before. I don't mind it. I'd rather see more ex-WWE guys in AEW than AEW originals. I'm just not fans of some of those guys. Like there's a handful that I enjoy, but the rest of them just need some polish. And I'm just like, I'm not interested in this. And don't get me wrong, it's not just because it's WWE, because you could make me invested. Like I said, Ring of Honor did it for years. Ring of Honor did it from 2014 to about
A whole
2017,
roster.
18 for me. That's what I'm saying. Like, and they were all fresh faces. It was independents. Same thing with NXT. NXT introduced me to a lot of talent that I probably would have never paid attention to. They made me look like, so it's possible. So it's not about a WWE thing, right? You can make people interested in new and young talent. And for some they did, but for some they've fallen by the wayside. But with that being said, I say this as I speculate. I don't think Cody Rhodes is the only one. Because Chris Jericho seems to be really invested in WWE. Like, as much as people hate WWE right now, creatively, a lot of those WWE guys, like, man, they're having a lot of fun over there. Look what they're doing, Kevin. You know, all of a sudden, Chris Jericho's like, hey, Kevin, I haven't forgot. You know, you never know when you may see me again. Like, why would you say that, Chris Jericho? That was his way of saying, I really like what you guys are doing over there. I'm like, you guys are like, you're having fun. And things are about to beef up because they're going into Mania. There's no special moments for AEW. There's nothing to look forward to every year. Like, you have All Out and you have, you know, whatever the case may be. Like, All In was special. The first one was special because it was the first time it ever been done. They stole my idea. I said an independent WrestleMania. Right? They've never been able to replicate that since. They've had a lot of success. I'm not knocking it one bit. They are very successful at what they do. But it to me, it's become stagnant. Like,
yeah, I mean, but like you're in the basketball world, and if you play in the big three, yeah, the championship is nice, but it's not the NBA Finals. You know, we just had the Super Bowl. You go to XFL, you go to CFL, or the USFL. It's not the Super Bowl. And
you play in those places to get you to where you want to be at, the Super Bowl.
Yep.
There's nothing to look forward to. Even if WWE is bad, you know there's certain things you can look forward to that's going to shake things up just in case things are stagnant, right? For instance, the WWE draft, that may shake things up. The night after WrestleMania, that may shake things up. Elimination Chambers, that may shake things up. Royal Rumbles. Money in the Bank. Like, those things, they've got these historic excuses, a part of their brand, to say, just in case something we're doing isn't working, we can throw this in the mix to shake things up. And sometimes you need that because some things work, some things don't work. Sometimes you can implement things, some things you can't implement. Some, you know what I mean? Like, there's a wrestling year is long, you know what I mean, in regards to what we're watching.
Sheesh, yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, cool. You can turn the corner at any point in time as long as you're not stuck on one particular thing, especially if it's not working. But in a situation where it is working, you know what I mean? Like, Bobby Lashley beats Goldberg because of a situation. That was a huge feud that we felt like we probably weren't going to get because of a situation when it comes to COVID-19 and Roman Reigns being out. It was a beautiful mistake because we finally got Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. We don't know if that was supposed to happen or not. Right. But we got it. And then now you say, okay, well, they probably figure out how do we go away from that and come back to it. Elimination Chamber. You don't need to book no story. Brock Lesnar comes out, check this out. I'm gonna be in the Elimination Chamber. Or in this situation, hey, look, I won the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? There's all these things that make him qualify to get back in that, and then you can kind of start fresh in regards to your creative. And to me, as a wrestling fan at this age, that's what makes it fun. Right. Yeah. All that other stuff is for the birds. I'm too old for that. But when I'm watching, I want to be entertained. And I want to make sense. It's only going to make so much sense because it's professional wrestling. It's not meant to make sense. Like, I don't watch The Simpsons and say I don't understand why they got 3 fingers. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why would Homer get hit by a car and then go to the hospital? Like, it does. You're trying to make sense of something that's not meant to be made sense of. Right. It's just for your entertainment. You know. That's how I look at the world of professional wrestling today. And this situation is just like, man, we have seen things like this historically happen, right? But AEW fans and stans just swore they were so untouchable by these things. And I'm just like, man. So here's my question to you two brothers, especially you, Brother Hugh. Will Cody Rhodes be missed in AEW? Do you think people are really upset that he's gone? Or you think they're kind of like, you know what, it was probably time for him to go because he was trying to turn us into something that we didn't want to be.
Brother Hugh stepped away. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry. What was the question? I apologize.
I was. No, you good. I was saying, you know, Now that he's gone, do you think people are saying, "Oh man, that's crazy. I miss Cody," or do you think AEW people are saying, "Good riddance. He needed to go anyway"?
I think we're gonna have a mixed crowd, honestly.
That's a great answer.
We're gonna have a mixed crowd. As far as like the talent,
Yeah, just everybody on the inside.
probably, yeah. You're probably well. First of all, you're missing the A1 wrestler, A1 talent. You're missing someone who works well in the ring. But as far as
Mhm.
like TV time now, these other
Mhm.
wrestlers get more TV time. Hopefully,
They're
let's
not though.
see.
It's CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Moxley.
But
And
still,
MJF.
it's still that possibility that
Sure.
if with Rhodes gone,
Mhm.
somebody else can step up into that next slot and get some time. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
So that's that one possibility. But honestly, I don't think they're really gonna miss him that much. To be real with you,
I don't see a
like
lot of
like
people.
like you said before, and you made a good point. It seems like he wasn't really a part of it. Like he was the face of it, but at the same time, he wasn't really on the same page with everybody else. So he was like in his own world. You
I'm
see what I'm
not see
saying?
I'm not seeing a lot of well wishes. I'm with you. Like I'm not seeing a lot of well wishes. Thank you, Cody, for all
Yeah,
you've done, and we appreciate you. And none of you know what I mean. Like when someone voluntarily
nothing,
leaves for their own
no
reasons, even
responses whatsoever.
like you kind of say, thank you for like when William Regal got released, there was so many people saying thank you, William Regal,
Absolutely,
because that was their way of saying they didn't like the fact that he got released. That was their way of saying let's show we want to show you our appreciation. Unfortunately, this has kind of happened to you, right?
but like
Mhm.
look, I'm just eager to see what actually happened. Like you said, to force him out,
Something's up,
to
man.
force him
Like
to leave. Yes, it
this
has to
wasn't
be.
just this was not just we couldn't come to a deal as far as contracts were gone because he already his thing was when he first left WWE. I want to experience the world. Like I said, he was that rich kid that
Hmm.
never got to experience the real world. You know what I mean? He was
Yep.
sheltered. He lived in a mansion, and he was well taken care of. And he would see stuff on TV and movies. And he's figured I got to leave this the comfort of my home to go see the world for myself. That's why I equated him leaving WWE to do. And the crazy part is he never wanted to leave. He just wanted to go back to being Cody Rhodes. He even said, "I'll do both. Let me do both. Let me be Stardust on one thing, and then be Cody Rhodes in another situation. And we'll play off those two." They left
Right.
him no choice. They said no, and he had to leave because his father told him, if they're not going to let you, you got to go leave and do it yourself. And the first thing Cody kept saying was, "I want to go experience independent wrestling. I want to experience stuff in the gutter." He kept saying, "I want to go to a really bad promotion. I want to go to a really good." Like he wanted to see what the rest of the world had to offer. Right? He goes to Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
He goes to New Japan. New Japan between a partnership with New Japan and Ring of Honor, he realized that he couldn't do what he wanted to do in Ring of Honor. You know, and he kind of made comments like, "Look, man, they got all this potential, but they're just not doing it right." Him and the Bucks both leave. They all leave. Hangman leaves, and then all of a sudden they make this announcement about this event, All In. They wanted to do wrestling their way. You know what I mean? Kenny Omega leaves New Japan. They all go rogue. And they decide they're like, so why all these guys, these five superstars, I guess considered still the elite at the moment, kind of breaking away to do something on their own. You know what I mean? And they wanted to prove to the wrestling world that they could do something. They had ideas. They could put on a show. They can do that. Tony Khan gets whiff of this and says, "Man, you guys are really on to something, man. Look, I got the money. We can actually do this." They get a couple of other guys on board, like Chris Jericho, and they launch this entire promotion, right?
Mhm.
Only for 3 years later for one of those pillars to decide, no, I'm leaving. And not only am I leaving, I'm going to the competition. The same person I just shot at. Like it's like going from the Lakers to the Celtics.
Yeah. He's
You know,
like
that's that's
going home. You going back home anyway.
that's like
That's where
Shaq.
you
It's
wanted
like
to be all along.
I mean, but even that statement doesn't make sense, Brian H. Like that doesn't make sense to me. He is one heck of a worker. If he said, "Look, man, I never wanted to leave. I just did all this stuff so I can get respect." WWE. I want to go to WrestleMania. Like if he comes out, he would never come out and say that. But if it comes down to, oh no, well I just, that was just all the means to an end. Because I wanted to come back to the biggest promotion. Everybody would be pissed because he sold a lot of dreams.
He did, but he also helped create a lot of opportunities. But I do think I mean I honestly think that he going back to WWE with open arms. I think him and Vince gonna be like, Come on,
He's
you know
he's a huge star now.
that's the thing. Like we
He's
talked
a
about
huge
this.
star. Like he's gonna get the respect that he wanted. Go ahead.
Yeah, like people try to say like Vince hold grudges. No, he don't.
No, he does not. He never has.
You know, it's nothing to be mad at Cody about. He like he says all the time. You know, if you can go make more, like Jericho said it, by all means, I give you my blessing. You know what I mean? Eric Bischoff said so many people said that. And at the end of the day, like it's not like Cody Rhodes when he was in WWE. Sure, we probably didn't see him get booked in the greatest spots, right? But he
Nah,
was
nah, the brother was Stardust, man. That wasn't working.
but you know, it's funny how many people like Stardust. Like I heard a lot of people talk about how much they liked it. I couldn't stand it, but you know, but then
He was a
you
fan
also,
favorite. He did it
it
well.
was, yeah, and you know, even my son was talking about how much he liked it.
He just did it too
But the
well.
thing, bingo, right? And you know, like you said, he wanted the Goldust for Stardust match. You know, a lot of people wanted that. We didn't get it. But before that, like you remember, I couldn't stand Cody Rhodes, like because he
Yeah, you
didn't wear
didn't like
knee
him.
pads. And
No, yeah, I
then
didn't
he
like him
wore
either.
knee pads, and then he brought back the white IC title, and I was like, okay. But when he left WWE, he was not somebody. I was like, oh man, this is like, oh okay, Cody Rhodes is gone. Then you know, I was looking at him on stuff, and I'm like, yo, this dude is like, I'm intrigued. You know, I went from like it was just Cody Rhodes to being intrigued by his match, and I was a little bit disappointed at one of his matches with Kenny Omega. I think it was Super Card of Honor. It was like I stayed up for this, and it wasn't like as great as I thought it was going to be. But boy,
Right.
for
Yeah.
me, the turning point was
Yeah.
the match with his brother.
Easy.
That was the
Easy.
match of the year, and that's when, to me, Cody went to a new level. And ever since, you know, that, like you talked about a couple weeks ago, his match with Warlow, bring him to WWE. I mean, bring him back home to WWE. You know, the idea of Cody Rhodes being at WrestleMania to me is just like, why would you like pass that up? Whether it's the Miz or Seth Rollins or shoot AJ Styles. I mean, so we never
He
got
doesn't.
Cody and AJ Styles.
I don't think he needs to wrestle. I think he just needs to show his face.
Even if he show up, right? Even if
They-
and if he walks down that aisle, man, those people gonna go crazy.
But you have to remember though, that's the last WrestleMania he participated. It was in the same place. See?
Yep.
It makes me wonder, like, yo, how calculated was this for real?
It's nothing like Texas.
Think about it. Remember, that was his last match. And after that match, he said he had new gear. He was like, I'm gonna go back to being Cody Rhodes. I'm trying to go back to being Cody Rhodes. And they wouldn't let him. And his father said it. They're not gonna budge. You gotta leave. And his father was still there. Like Dusty was still there. You know, God rest his soul. You know. And nothing personal, because that's the nature of the business sometimes. Sometimes you have to go off, you have to better yourself, you have to prove yourself. That man is a proven main event talent, main event caliber player. His look, his presentation, his arm candy, and his beautiful wife, his robes, like he figured it out. His blonde hair, like blonde hair Cody was the one that turned the corner for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's like when he got to that point, I was like, okay. He just did some of his best work. He's given us some of the most passionate promos. He has, and by the way, a lot of those AEW promos, they don't age well. You know, because he talks about his lifelong blood, sweat, and tears, and then it's like I'm gone. At the first sight of money not being right, okay, I'm gone. There's got to be something more to it. And I think the crazy part about everything is that we don't. Because we don't know all that's happened. We don't know all the stuff. I think that's what's make all this speculation that much more fun, because there's more to it, and we know there's more to it, and everybody's being tight-lipped about it.
Yeah. Well, real quick. Let's get into something else, man. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The rumors that he, you know, that was the first thing I woke up to on Tuesday. Rumors of Vince McMahon is like courting WWE's courting Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm like, oh boy, you know, and you think like, okay, you figure he gonna make an appearance. It's Texas. He did it before, like you said. But then I missed, it was Valentine's Day, so I missed most of Raw. Kevin Owens ripping the state of Texas. We all know, like,
is it crazy that it was obvious that Kevin immediately when he did that, everybody's like, okay, we're clearly getting Austin versus Owens.
mm-hmm.
Like that's crazy. Like nobody speculated. As soon as Owens started, like there's nothing out there that proves that there's a Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold match. Just people just automatically assume that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is that me or am I the one that kind of just noticed that?
Nah, like, yeah, you're right. And look, here's the thing: Kevin Owens re-signed with WWE for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, and people think, oh, it could have been he promised him a title run, this, that, and that. I mean, you can give him his dream match, a possibility of his dream match, or just a. I'm good with a segment. You know, him being on the Kevin Owens show, they sitting in the ring. Austin say something. Kevin Owens say something. Kevin go for a stunner. Austin catch him with a stunner. Boom, crowd goes crazy. I'm good.
We all know that Kevin Owens is a sentimental wrestling fan.
Yeah,
like
he says he's the biggest Stone Cold fan because he loved Ringmaster.
Like his,
Yep.
you know, like his memories and his moments. That stuff is serious to him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody that could go toe to toe and would do this right, it's got to be Kevin Owens. He would make sure Austin looked good. He would take care of him. It would be intense enough. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the major reason right there why it might actually happen. So,
It's always funny because I always thought, like, if Austin was to come back, I know, like, John Cena has, like, been on his show and said that's the match he wanted. And I wonder how Cena would, because as Austin said, like, it would
Cena can't work.
nope.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't have both those guys in the ring like that. Like Cena's limited at best.
You think
You
so?
know what I mean? Like I think he is. Like you need somebody to kind of carry that match a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they're the same style. Like nobody wants to see. Like people didn't want to see Austin. They didn't want to go for Austin and Hogan because they wrestle similar styles.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily what they do in the ring, but the type of,
I know what
like,
you mean.
Like Rock, could carry Rock carry that match. Like Shawn
the way
Michaels,
they tell stories.
Sure, Shawn Michaels, HBK carried that match. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got to put Hogan in the ring with guys where he don't have to do what everybody else does. You know, even Roman Cena. Roman carried that match. Never thought I'd be saying that. You know what I mean? And it's like
John
you can't.
Cena lost a step, brother.
I don't think he lost a step. It's just their styles are too similar. You know what I mean? Their styles are they're very similar. Like when you get a Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega in the ring, it's just magic because those guys can wrestle multiple styles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They complement each other, but some styles just don't go well together, or it just doesn't last. It doesn't stick. It doesn't make sense. Like Batista, Shawn Michaels. Like that's supposed to be a marquee feud when you look at it on paper, but they just don't go well together because
I am.
and I mean that's the whole point. And Shawn Michaels can wrestle anybody. You know what I mean? Like Shawn Michaels went toe to toe with Taker. Like you take for granted how special both those talents are, because when you look at their bill and their heights and their matchups, they don't belong in the ring together, but yet they found a way to make it work. When you got two guys like that, you have greatness. If you got one guy like that, you can make it work. You know what I mean? If you have two guys where it's like who's going to lead, it's not a good idea. Like Rock and Austin work so well together because of how Rock works with Austin's style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cena, Austin is like, yeah, it would have been cool in the heyday. It would have made sense, in John Cena's, but for him to come back and try to do that and then leave again, meh.
Mm. Yeah, of course, this was when he was, I'm never leaving. I'm here to stay. But yeah, that would definitely be interesting. Yeah, it's been an interesting week in wrestling, dare say. But yeah, we can wrap up. we spent the hour on Cody Rhodes.
What else are we seriously going to talk about? Oh, we could talk about Vengeance Day. Let's do a couple of shout outs. Did you see Santos Escobar and Braun Breaker at
Oh yeah,
WWE NXT Vengeance Day?
Oh,
I
dang, I
saw it.
missed it.
My internet was being stupid yesterday.
Go back and watch it. Santos Escobar, he came out in full Eddie Guerrero gear.
Okay,
Ooh.
That's
yeah,
good
I
stuff.
couldn't. Yeah, I saw the finish. You know, from what I was seeing, like as I was fighting the internet, I saw a good match from what I could see. But I'm gonna go back and watch it. I gotta go back and watch the whole show.
And of course, we got Dolph Ziggler involved and Tommaso Ciampa involved. Good stuff, man. NXT's got
Ziggy,
that's
my man Ziggy.
Hugh Diddy's guys.
Yep.
Yes,
NXT
sir.
2.0 is hitting their stride. I'm telling you that right now. Grayson Waller, you know what I mean? LA Knight doing some good stuff.
I tell you, I like the women's division too.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think
I
yeah.
like with Mandy Rose. You know, them kind of hitting the reset button with her. She's just like, cause y'all remember a couple years ago, she was like, okay, I'm sexy. Then it was like, I don't want to be known like that. And she tried the soccer mom styles and all that. And I was just like, she's just like fully embracing it, but she can also get like dangerous. And I like her being champion. I like what's that? Karen shoot, I want to make sure I say her name right. I'm about to say her Wendy Chu. I was about to say her indie name. I really like her. Like she's hilarious, going to sleep. So yeah, I've been enjoying NXT 2.0. I don't see what the problem is. Some people think it's it's stupid. They drop. No, I like the direction. I feel like it's the perfect bridge to like prepare them to be stars on the next level.
I mean, they're doing a lot of what they did early on FCW stuff. They're integrating the main event guys more. They're getting them chances to work with them. I think Zigzag is perfect for a 2.0.
Oh,
It just
heck
fits,
yeah.
man. It just fits, man. Like, and then you have shout out to the NXT fans. Every time Walter comes out there and he goes, they say, it's Gunther and Imperium, and he goes, it's pronounced Gunta. Like he's trying to like change it up so he not be controversial. And fans are like, Walter. His name is Walter.
Malcolm Bivens.
Yeah. Malcolm, man. You talking about a manager. Like that guy's a made man when it comes to managing.
You know what? I missed a lot of his ROH run because that's when I was like,
okay. So that's probably why. Okay, I didn't know you realized you missed that much.
No, I knew who he was via social media, right? Like we was like Facebook friends, and like I follow him on Twitter, so I knew who he was. But to see his work, I missed a lot of it. I only saw it through clips because moving from Connecticut here and then trying to figure out get back. It's like kind of hard. Like when you haven't been watching a wrestling promotion and you try to jump back into it, and it's like, what's going on? So it was like that. But man, like he is like must see TV. I'm happy, even though it's not like the 80s, right? You go back to the 80s and 90s where you had about 8 or 9 managers in wrestling. But now I'm happy there's like a manager on every show. You got NXT, you got NXT, you got Heyman on SmackDown, MVP on Raw. I like that.
It's not a lost art.
Yeah, So yeah, man. Yeah, WWE was good this week. And NXT. I'm definitely interested to see what happens moving as we get ready for Elimination Chamber this Saturday at noon at that. Y'all probably both of y'all probably be busy, won't y'all?
You know it.
Yeah.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, of course I'll be watching. I'm my mini, she already wondering what we eating. So the other one, he's like, all right.
The real question is, is Veer going to show up on our Raw?
Veer gonna show up the night after WrestleMania. Book it right here.
That man been lost forever.
You gotta put him back on the milk carton.
Man, that's what it is.
He gonna show up the night after WrestleMania. That's when he gonna be here. And he gonna get a huge pop. I'm telling you, Veer come out the night of WrestleMania, he gonna get a huge pop.
You know what? He will too. He definitely will.
But yeah, anything else y'all got on y'all minds, plates, hearts?
Yeah, man, I like the Young Bucks versus Roppongi Vice the other day. That was good.
Okay.
Yeah, just I'm trying to be fair.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm enjoying this whole Eddie Kingston and Jericho thing. Like with him, like
Silence.
you not
I'm not the biggest Eddie Kingston fan.
okay. Respect. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's I don't need this like Eddie Kingston. He's that guy. It seems like you don't realize, like, man, he always losing, but he gonna talk up enough where you think he gonna win the match. But
Oh
then you
no,
realize,
he's greater than
what's
Mike. You talking about a
what's
guy on
the
a stick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you talking about a guy with a stick. Eddie Kingston's got to be
you,
probably top promo guys out there right now.
you still mad about that explosion match?
Yeah, that was terrible. And then they were like best friends after that.
That was the first episode of the the first episode of the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. Oh, best friends. I'm glad you brought it up. Bryan Danielson, John Moxley. I like him trying to convince him to, let's team up. And then Moxley comes out there and tells him tonight, well, I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. But just remember, I always had to bleed with somebody. Basically, he had to draw blood with somebody before. So he had to fight him before he decided if he was going to team up. So I'm excited. Like, to me, every time Bryan Danielson walks on AEW, it just, it's on AEW television, I stop what I'm doing. Not just because he's like my favorite of all time,
because
but
he's a needle
everything
mover.
is mean. Huh?
He's a needle mover.
Yeah. And he had an incredible match with Lee Moriarty, but I mean, who can he have an incredible match with? And there's no disrespect to Lee Moriarty for all black wrestling Twitter come at me. But I'm just saying, like, who can't he have an incredible match with? But that's the thing, going out there and highlighting his opponents. Like, and that's one of the things he talked about when Mark Henry talked about it when he discovered him and got him to WWE, said he was working a match and the guy wasn't that good. But he realized how Bryan carried him and said, I'm going to recommend you to the WWE.
Well, there you have it.
AEW was pretty good. I think last week's episode of Dynamite was better. But
I think that was a good one. Like, that was what I heard a lot of people kind of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the match between Jurassic Park and the Gun Club?
That was on tonight. No, that was on Rampage, right?
Yeah. As far as I know, it was a main event. It was Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy versus.
I think that's when I
Austin
turned my
Colton
PlayStation
Gun.
on.
Oh well, there you have it. I like how the Gun Club all dressed like Shawn Michaels in '93. So.
Oh, speaking of, you mentioned him earlier, Matt Cardona, new NWA World's Champion.
Yep, new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Like I said, he's hot right now. So every promotion he's going to touch, they're going to try to put the strap on him.
I don't see he's wrestling one of my buddies now, Mr. Savage. He wrestled.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for the belt. So I'm anxious to go back and see that match and see how that went.
Yeah, he's hitting on all cylinders right now. So once again, that's another wrestling couple. Excuse me. Zack Ryder and Chelsea Green. You know what I mean? Making a lot of money right now. I think she, to talk about her, she's getting way more exposure now. Like he knows how to book his wife better than anybody. Like I'm seeing her be way more successful with him outside of WWE than whatever she was doing in WWE. So
yeah,
it's not going on in the wrestling world, but
Oh yeah, folks.
That's that.
This Sunday, me and brother Hugh will be at Fight Club in DC. Shout out Black-owned wrestling. So I'm excited about that. Also, we'll be at a pre-party. That's all I'm gonna say about that though. Eventually we're gonna get the real Dwayne Allen out, but he's too busy winning championships and stuff. His time is valuable. putting
Ripping and
together a
running
championship
Lincoln Towns,
program. But yeah, the biggest match I'm excited for on that day is Trisha Dora defending the Pan-African Championship against Big Swole. So that should be fun. Shout out to Britt Waters, who actually had Britt Swole on her WJLA TV show, news program. I want to say it was the lifestyle show. Yeah, because it wouldn't have been the weather show. I forgot the exact name of it, but y'all make sure y'all check that out. Shout out to the Bloodline. Brother Hugh gonna be out there with the camera doing his thing. Not only is the marketing manager, but the photographer of the wrestling realm.
Yes, sir. I will have my shirt on. I'm over here to sell merch, by the way.
He said, I'm gonna have my shirt on.
Take that
Y'all
as you
been,
want it.
huh?
I said, take that however you want it.
Shout out to
I'm
brother
over here to
Matt
sell
from Black
merchandise,
Wrestling,
baby.
who just copped the Wrestling Realm hoodie. Shout out, appreciate the support, brother. But yeah, that's all I have. Shout outs and we hitting the indies. We're back on the road, brother. We just gotta grab the real Dwayne Allen. We gonna one of these days we're gonna get him back out on the road with us. He had to. There you go.
Will be out there with us one day.
Eventually, one day, brother.
Yes, sir.
Make it towns.
One of these days, I'll get back on the road.
But yeah. So yeah, that y'all finished. Y'all good? I don't want to take you home if you ain't ready to go home.
Nah, it's time. We had a chance to talk,
can...
rap, speculate. It's time to wrap this all up.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow us. I actually fixed a typo. I had a typo in here as I put myself out there. And I'm sitting there, look, my computer moving so stupid slow. So it took me about 20 minutes just to get Photoshop up, make the change because I had froms instead of informs. Or I was like, God dang. I was like, look, you was in the driver's seat. So I was like, cool. I'm staying cruise control. I'm staying in the passenger seat while we in cruise control and I can get this fixed. But yeah, I need a new computer soon, very soon.
I need new Wi-Fi. I had to turn it off just for it to work so I can get the show. I'm like, yo, it's killing me. I was ready to quit. I was like, man, not tonight. This ain't working. But I know,
but you was cooking with some grease too.
That's what I'm saying, man. Keep trying to get these French fries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what is he talking about French fries for? Like, it's nothing.
Well, y'all make sure y'all keep follow us everywhere. All social media platforms. It's right there on your screen. But if you listening in your cars and you're driving, it's your first time. Thank you at Wrestling Realm on all social media. Make sure you follow us on Twitch and watch while I'm playing some of these classic video games. Last one I was playing was Here Comes the Pain. That story mode is pretty good, so I'll pick it up in a couple of days because it's gonna be a busy week. Until the next time, folks. There is Brother Hugh. There is the real Dwayne Allen. I'm Brian H. Waters, and we out.
Peace.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes!